Hey, Jerry Heron here, and I want to make a quick video in response to Sean AKO, I think it's AKO, Sean in Ireland, who's an LGB advocate and doing incredibly well. And I'm going to address this to you, Sean, in response to something you put on X today, but also I'm gonna put it out large, and I'm going to tag Rigo Lazari because I think Rigo would get a kick out of this. And your bio, you're in Dublin. I'm assuming you're in Dublin, DUB, and a storyteller, real and imagined, as unstoppable as a pigeon on a dropped sausage roll, which I think is pretty charming. So I'm going to read what you posted on X, and you just said a couple of weeks after J.K. Rowling's infamous tweet, I was out drinking with a couple of gay men. It came up in conversation, and I was the only one who agreed with her, not because I wanted to be provocative, but because she had finally put into words something I had been thinking for a long time. I tried to explain my position. What followed wasn't disagreement, it was hostility. Okay? I was called every name under the sun. My views were treated as defects over opinions. One of them even stole from me that night. Okay, great people you hang with. My close friend who was there later told me that I had humiliated him in front of his buddies because of my bigotry. Okay. This was before I even spoke out publicly. I was just a normal person in a room expressing an opinion, and the response was vicious. So I do not know for a fact that I do know for a fact that a lot of gay people are bullied into silence by their peers, but those peers carry as much responsibility as the ideologues, and I couldn't agree with you even more. And I want to say to you that this isn't new. Unfortunately, that's not the good news. So I'm 70. I marched for gay civil rights in the late 1970s. And I want to share two experiences with you from the late 1990s. So I lived in New York City for 10 years, moved down to Cape May County, M-A-Y, in southern New Jersey, right at the end of New Jersey. So at the late 90s. And I joined a group called Gables, and it was a gay social group. And the first thing I noticed was this group, first of all, they weren't particularly welcoming or friendly until I bought my first house. Then all of a sudden I was no longer invisible. Noted that, thought that was a little strange reaction. So they were very, very cliquey. And I had been told that, unlike New York City, slutty gays, that these were sort of fresh and they're much nicer. Wasn't the case. So there was a gay senior couple. One of them was into dress up, and the other one was into leather, and he wrote the group's newsletter. So I'm reading the newsletter, and the first thing I noticed that there was absolutely nothing for lesbians, for an LGBT group. And the other thing I noticed, everything was youth, male body, youth, male body, youth, male. And I brought it up in conversation to the board at a social gathering, not at a board meeting. And it fell on deaf ears. It was almost like they didn't know what on earth I was talking about. I was speaking Swahili to them. And then I commented, I said, where are the lesbians? There's no lesbians here. And they said, oh, well, the Dennisville dykes joined, and they tried to sort of take over the group, so we chased them all. Okay, so it's an all-male group. And then Randy was the board president of this group, and he mentioned that he wanted to put in a gay contingent in the annual Christmas parade. Okay, so accepting, of course, that most homosexuals are secular, most of them are not religious, and particularly the lefties. So I questioned him, like, okay, so first of all, this is a religious parade, as much as that it's been commercial and it's been exploited, all the rest of it, but it's still essentially, it's a religious parade. So explain to me, if you can, so we have, all the things that kids love in this Christmas race, police car, fire engine, Disney characters, and I was one year, and, Santa, elves, Santa sleigh, homosexuals. I'm like, I don't get it. I mean, what is the message that you're trying to get out? So the reaction was actually it wasn't hostility, but it was, you're talking outside the rainbow script. What the hell's the matter with you? Like, we're constantly have to keep pushing this, exposure of gay. And I say, well, maybe the Christmas parade isn't it, because all you're going to basically do is piss people off. So the next thing was that we were there. So the room that they met was behind a church. I think it was the Episcopal Church. I may be wrong. So the pastor, his good graces, had allowed this LGB group to use it twice a month, one for social, one for the board meeting, and had a commercial kitchen. So we'd bring covered dishes and sit down and chat. And there was a table by the door where, guys had brought in, all the free, gay news, all the sort of free information about gay. And the guy that wrote the newsletter, the Leather Queen, would bring in his used gay porn magazines. Okay, so I understand this was late 90s, so the internet wasn't going on. Everything was published pornography. And I thought it was a little weird. And my observation, he took a sort of a strange delight in seeing which of the gay men took the free magazines and what they were looking at. I thought it was a little pervy. But anyway, okay, it's there. I'm not going to say anything. Well, one of the social meetings, we were there, and unbeknownst to us, the room upstairs, I didn't even know there was a room upstairs, was being let out to the Girl Scouts. And all these kids came down the stairs, right past this table with pornography and out the door. And I'm like, oh, crap, we've got a problem here. So I mentioned it to Randy. I'm like, Randy, gay pornography, kids, not only is the board legally liable, every single member of this group is legally liable. And it was like talking Swahili, didn't understand at all, just could not understand. I'm like, we have this, right-wing, angry, fundamentalist priest who is convinced that this is a sex group, okay? And he has got, constantly going out of his way to destroy the group. All he needs to do is walk in here and see that we're in trouble. Again, went nowhere. So I said, Randy, I want to put it on bring it up at the next board meeting. So I turned up at the next board meeting, and new business, Randy closed the meeting before I'd even had a chance to open my mouth. I'm like, okay, fine. Waited a month, the next board meeting, I'm like, you are, and I'm very stubborn and very tenacious. And I just, and I brought it up. I was like, and explained. The reaction, Sean, was almost identical. This is the late 1990s to the reaction you got. I mean, they were, every single one there, except for two, reacted with anger, with hostility, with insults. I mean, one of the guys was literally frothing, spitting at his mouth like a rabid wolf. And I didn't give ground, and I kept pressing my point, which was obviously going nowhere. The two guys who didn't, who sort of defended me, were two senior guys. And it wasn't because they agreed with me, sadly. It was because they were just so alarmed at how badly I was being treated. I walked out of there, never went back, and when I sold my home and moved out of the county in 2007, so this was around 98, so 2007, and it was an 1881 Victorian farmhouse on 2 acres, little barn. I had my studio there. My agent said to me, I don't think you knew how isolated you were. I did. It was deliberate. I don't want to be part of this group. I am not part of this group. I don't think like these people. And Sean, you're exactly in the same position that they were. And that when you and why on earth would you want to be associated with a group who are the gay wrong? It's not even gay. Trans queer wrong think police who come after you for, what have you done? You've engaged your brain, you've observed, you realize something is terribly wrong. And when you look at the behavior of these people, you have, how crazy they are, the violence. Here we have a nurse wishing that Caroline Leavitt, who's the press secretary for the White House, while she's pregnant that has the most horrific birth, that it tears her womb out, and she's, forever constipated. What sort of person does that? And the recently, I mean, it's surprising me that I've kind of sailed under the radar from these lunatics, because for some reason they seem to target everyone else except me. And I've been doing this advocacy for 7 years now, 8 years, back doing this advocacy as opposed to in the late 1970s. And recently I posted a meme that I created years ago, and it was it was a divorce, the gay, tearing up our marriage certificate and separating TQ from LGB. And for some reason it confused a lot of them, and it angered a lot of them. So I had 60 something responses from these people. All their avatars are sort of the strange, hostile anime that seems to be very, very popular. And just vile, horrible comments. Go to age, go to looks, what have you. You're a Nazi, you're a MAGA, like totally dismissive. Sean, you were right. And Rigo is right. And the wonderful thing, both of you are getting great traction. Rigo hits every damn point on point every single time. So you are going to be isolated. But, the truth is, when the seniors like Fred Sargent, who was there, 69 for the Stonewall riots, passes away. When myself, I'm 70. I'm probably going to be around for a long time because my dad passed away at 97. My mum's going to be 94 this month. When Melissa Cohen, who's another great semi-senior advocate, when we're gone, these trans queer lunatics are rewriting history now. They will rewrite the history. So if you are going to be alone, maybe lonely, but you don't want these for your friends. These aren't friends. I mean, you were right. These are people in a political biodome. Nothing gets in, no oxygen gets out, and they're reading from the Rainbow script. They're completely indoctrinated, as my experience from the late 1990s. You cannot get through to them. And I think the best advice I could give you is that, have your script ready, have your points ready, and very quietly and calmly stick with that. Say that back to them every single time. And at some point, it will penetrate. And the encouraging thing is that, all these organizations that are being usurped by straight, predatory men, transvestite men, and all the trendy straight guys who want to call them queer because they want to be part of this club, they're going bankrupt. Stonewall's going bankrupt. And all these people that have advocated for the castration of potentially gay boys and the sterilization of lesbians, they're going out of business. All the pride, shame parades are being bankrupt because finally the corporations are ready. So you are on the side of right. You are correct. You need to just keep doing what you're doing. Don't get upset by it. Sit back and enjoy the fact they're lunatics and you're not. And I really applaud what you're doing. I hope this means something to you. Please keep doing what you are doing, and enjoy. And by the way, that meme that I created about the night of the body snatchers, go watch that 50s movies, because it really is quite brilliant. Not the new version, the black and white version where the aliens come down and they have these pods growing in the back garden, and you meeting people that and they're the same person, but there's something off. You can't figure out what, because they finally find out it was, rainbow aliens that are growing. And I sort of feel a lot with these, trans, queer, LGBTQAI+ idiots, is that, they must have these pods growing in their backyards in their image and sort of taking over their brains. The other encouraging thing you have to understand is that, every single one of these, supposedly gay who've, converted or taken the medications, taking the blockers, had the surgery, they're going into menopause in their 20s and 30s. They're having osteoporosis in their 20s and 30s. Look at the parades, and they're walking around with canes and walkers. They have destroyed their health. They have destroyed their bodies. We haven't. You haven't. I'm freaking 70. And I'm as mostly healthy as a freaking horse. So, take courage from that. Keep doing what you're doing. If ever you're in Phoenix, there is a room here. And by the way, we have sunshine. You wouldn't know it today, but we have sunshine and warmth all the time. Anyway, you'd be most welcome. I hope you watch this. Thank you for what you're doing. Bye-bye.